China's trade history and its modern economic position relative to the USA. China's history as a trading nation spans thousands of years, marked by periods of economic prosperity, self-imposed isolation, and strategic missteps. This journey offers crucial insights into why, despite its recent rapid growth, China still faces challenges in surpassing the United States in certain economic areas today. 1. Ancient trade and the Silk Road. China's international trade truly began during the Han Dynasty, 206 BCE to 220 CE, when it became a key player in the legendary Silk Road network. The Chinese traded silk, ceramics, and spices for goods like gold, silver, and horses, cementing its status as a global trading hub. This early exchange fostered a rich flow of technology and culture, giving China a competitive edge in specialized goods. However, while China was a dominant force, trade during this period was small-scale compared to the vast mercantile networks that would later emerge in Europe. China focused on producing high-quality goods for a select, elite market rather than building a diverse export economy. This focus on luxury exports, though profitable at the time, prevented China from developing the broad industrial base needed for long-term global dominance. 2. Ming Dynasty isolation and the decline of trade. The Ming Dynasty, 1368 to 1644, initially embraced maritime trade with Admiral Zheng, his impressive expeditions showcasing China's naval power. But by the mid-Ming period, the state adopted increasingly isolationist policies. They restricted maritime trade, heavily regulated foreign merchants, and largely discouraged private overseas trade. These policies had significant long-term effects. While Europe was expanding its global trade networks during the Age of Discovery, China's focus on internal stability and agrarian wealth limited its exposure to global markets. This resulted in technological stagnation and conservative economic policies, causing China to miss out on the Industrial Revolution that would later fuel European dominance. 3. The Qing Dynasty and trade imbalances. Under the Qing Dynasty 1644 to 1912, China maintained a strict trade hierarchy, exporting tea, silk, and porcelain while importing minimal foreign goods. This created a significant trade surplus with Europe, especially with Britain. However, China's refusal to import industrial products meant it had limited access to emerging technologies. Britain's response, which led to the Opium Wars 1839 to 1842 and 1856 to 1860, exposed the weaknesses of China's trade policies. These wars forced China into a series of unequal treaties, ceding ports and opening its markets on unfavorable terms. The economic disruption weakened domestic industries, reduced state revenue, and eroded China's ability to compete on an equal footing with Western powers. 4. 20th century, fragmentation and isolation. The 20th century was a time of immense internal instability for China, marked by wars and foreign occupation. After the fall of the Qing dynasty, the country struggled with warlordism, Japanese invasion, and civil war. Trade networks were shattered, and foreign influence dominated key sectors. After the People's Republic of China was founded in 1949, the country adopted a highly centralized, socialist model. Policies like the Great Leap Forward 1958 to 1962 and the Cultural Revolution 1966 to 1976 disrupted production and severely limited foreign trade. China's economy became largely self-reliant, focusing on internal development while minimizing engagement with global markets. While these policies ensured political control, they came at the cost of technological stagnation and limited international competitiveness. 5. Reform and opening up, catching up. China's economic transformation began in 1978 under Deng Xiaoping, who introduced market-oriented reforms and encouraged foreign investment. Special economic zones, SEZs, like Shenzhen became manufacturing and export hubs, allowing China to integrate into global supply chains. This reform period marked a dramatic shift in China's trade policy. By leveraging low labor costs and vast manufacturing capacity, China became the world's factory, exporting electronics, textiles, and machinery globally. However, while trade volumes skyrocketed, China's economic model relied heavily on exporting low-value-added goods and importing foreign technology, rather than developing its own high-tech industries at the same pace as the United States. 6. Modern trade challenges. Despite its rapid growth, China faces structural challenges that are partly rooted in its history. Dependence on exports. China's economy relies heavily on manufactured exports. While this has led to incredible GDP growth, it leaves the economy vulnerable to global demand fluctuations and trade disputes, such as the recent US-China trade tensions. Innovation gap. Historically, China lagged in industrial innovation compared to the West. While it has made significant progress in technology and AI, American companies still dominate high-value sectors like semiconductors, software, and aerospace. Financial system and currency, centuries of inward-looking policies contributed to a historically underdeveloped financial system. While modern reforms have made progress, regulatory and transparency issues still make it difficult for Chinese companies to fully compete on the global financial stage. Geopolitical constraints. China's history of conflict and isolation influences its current geopolitical strategy. The ongoing trade and technology competition with the US reflects a long-standing caution about over-relying on foreign powers, which can slow down cross-border partnerships and the adoption of new innovations. 7. Comparison to the United States. The United States' economic rise benefited from a historical context that China lacked. The US industrialized rapidly in the 19th century, established global trade networks, and fostered innovation ecosystems that promoted high-value industries. Meanwhile, China, emerging from centuries of isolation and internal turmoil, had to play catch-up, initially prioritizing manufacturing capacity over cutting-edge innovation. While China's GDP now rivals that of the United States, areas like per capita wealth, technological innovation, and global influence still show the lasting effects of historical trade and economic policies. The US economy's strength in finance, technology, and intellectual property contrasts sharply with China's manufacturing-heavy growth model, showing how centuries of trade decisions have shaped long-term competitiveness. 8. Key lessons and strategic insights. Integration matters. China's periods of isolation delayed its technological and industrial development, highlighting the significant cost of restricting global engagement. Diversification is crucial. Over-relying on a few narrow export sectors exposes an economy to external shocks. A resilient modern economy requires a diverse trade portfolio. Innovation drives long-term leadership. Sustained economic leadership requires moving beyond manufacturing into high-tech and value-added industries, a challenge China is actively addressing, but one rooted in its historical delays. Policy flexibility. Historical rigidity in China's trade and economic policy limited its ability to adapt. Modern success requires dynamic, responsive economic planning to thrive in global competition. Conclusion. China's long and complex trade history helps explain why, despite its rapid modernization, it still faces challenges in overtaking the United States in certain economic sectors. Ancient innovations, periods of isolation, and a delayed industrialization created structural gaps that continue to affect its contemporary competitiveness. Today, China's strategy focuses on closing these gaps through technology, investment, and expanding international trade, a reflection of the lessons learned over centuries of economic evolution. Understanding this historical context is essential for anyone, policymakers, investors, and businesses alike, looking to navigate the global economic landscape and anticipate how China's past informs its present and future role relative to the United States.